Hello everyone and welcome to National Park Wild. I'm Eric, and a few days ago I made a video about my trip to Glacier National Park. This was back in July, and I'm continuing 2020 Park Recap with the only park experience that matched Glacier, and in fact surpassed it. That is Yellowstone National Park, my personal favorite I've ever been to. Now before we get into the video, I'd like to ask that you subscribe to the channel. It's amazing that I'm already at 170 subscribers after like 7 months. Thank you so much for that. Now let's get into Yellowstone. This was not my first visit, as I did actually go when I was about 10 years old, and it was a very fun trip and it was my favorite national park. This trip was even better, so let's talk about that today. After Glacier, we spent the night in Bozeman, Montana, and we drove down to the Gardner area and we did some whitewater rafting. This was fun. We saw some elk along the water, and the beautiful mountain views were fantastic, and I had a very fun time. Really glad we got to do that. One fun thing is that the building we left from was right across the road from the sign at the Yellowstone National Park, and right next to Roosevelt Arch. So that was pretty cool. We were getting out of our car right next to the sign, and we were in this small town. That was a really fun place. Then we got into the park, and our first stop was Mammoth Hot Springs. We immediately found many elk all around, and one deer was actually walking on the hot springs. The hot springs themselves are very beautiful, and one of my favorite national park sites, period. The way they have like different levels is so amazing that I can't believe it's natural. I love the geothermal features. I'm a huge sucker for that sort of thing, so that's kind of the reason why I really liked that. Definitely a fantastic part of Yellowstone. The colors are great. One thing I should note is that since I last went, a lot of buildings have been added, some hotels, restaurants. It's becoming a little more civilized, the park overall, which I don't love, but I understand to accommodate to more people coming. And one thing I should note, this trip was not very crowded. There were some parts where we were driving a good 5 miles and never saw another car. Part of that is because even though there were record attendances for national parks in 2020 because there aren't a whole lot of other places you could go, one of the big markets for national parks is international tourists. A lot of huge groups from different countries like Japan, China, they come to the national parks, and that was not an option in 2020, which is part of the reason why there were not a lot of large tours or even large crowds in most areas. But let's move on, because after Mammoth Hot Springs, we had a great time in Lamar Valley. Now this is tough to say, but Lamar Valley might actually be my favorite part of Yellowstone. That is saying a lot, given that there's more to do here than pretty much any other national park. But Lamar is amazing. It can be crowded, but it's amazing the wildlife we got to see. There's a huge backup on the road for a black bear that we got to see. That was quite a fun experience. He was just kind of hiding in the brush for a while, and he finally came out and we got to see him. That was really awesome. There were plenty of bison. A lot of those, honestly. I love bison. And while it might be hard to see here, we also saw coyotes. This was an interesting sighting. I thought they were wolves for a while, maybe because I just wanted to see a wolf and kind of wanted to think they were wolves. But we saw them. They were actually approaching a pronghorn antelope at one point. They did not end up attacking. However, that was very cool to see. Along the river, plenty of animals, really awesome. We saw Soda Butte. That's an interesting sight. And something I love is that when you're going around the area, there are massive mountains and waterfalls in Lamar Valley. So it's also a very beautiful area outside of wildlife. Wildlife's important in a park for me, and this area absolutely delivers. There's so many massive mammals, and incredible scenery too. I really enjoyed my time in Lamar Valley. And I have so many pictures of the awesome animals. I'm just going to show you some of them and let the music play. After that, we were going to do Mount Washburn. Unfortunately, that area of the road was closed when we went to the park, so we had to go to Bunsen Peak instead. And this is an amazing hike that I actually recommend. Not very crowded, we were some of like 5 people on the trail, and you get these incredible views. There's these really cool rocky parts of the trail, you can see massive mountains all around, overlook Mammoth Hot Springs area. We were able to see all the way to Grand Teton actually, because it was a very clear day. The mountains, plains, the plateaus, the rivers. It's really great to see Yellowstone from so high up, and I really loved that part of the trip. Underrated hike, definitely worth doing. After that, it's about evening time, so we decided to hit the Norris Geyser Basin area. On the way we see Sheep-Eater Cliff and Obsidian Cliff and Clearwater Springs, but Norris is a pretty cool one. Last time I went to the park, I did get to see Steamboat Geyser erupt. This time that did not happen, but it was still a really great area. Beautiful geysers and geothermal features, really awesome with the sunset happening. I asked somebody about the coyote wolf that I saw, and it turned out it was a coyote. And this was a very fun area. After that, we saw the Artist Paint Pot, that we skipped last time. That's definitely a recommended trail along with Norris for me. It's short, it's fun, very beautiful, definitely worth going on. After that, we headed to where we were staying for the night, Canyon Village. Like Mammoth, Canyon kinda has some buildings and restaurants now, but the canyon area is amazing. We went at sunset, and it was just fantastic. Such a beautiful sight, especially Artist Point. You must go to the Grand Canyon of Yellowstone if you go to the park. You simply cannot miss this. To add to that, of all the times we could have gone of the year, it just so happened that an army of cicadas was coming out from the ground, so we saw a bunch of those flying toward the canyon waterfall. Some might be terrified by that, but I thought that was pretty fun to see. Overall, Grand Canyon of the Yellowstone is fantastic, and definitely one of the best areas in the park, and this is just the first day of the park. The next day, we got to see the southern part, including Grand Prismatic Spring and Old Faithful, but that's a video for another time. Thank you for watching, I hope you enjoyed this video. Please comment your thoughts on Yellowstone. The next part will be out soon. After that, Grand Teton and then Colorado. I'll see you next time.